Can we all agree? I hereby posit, can we all agree that one thing that's bad is the bubonic plague? Now, admit it, you thought I was going to say Nazis there, didn't you? I know, but we're now at the point in U.S. politics where that can no longer be the go-to example for thing we all agree is bad. So I'm going to try to reset a new baseline for us here in 2025 in the United States of America. Is there anyone out there who does not agree or who doesn't get that the bubonic plague is a bad thing? The bubonic plague has its own era in human history. The Black Death years. There was an 8-year period in the later part of the Middle Ages in the 1300s when bubonic plague ripped through Europe. It killed 2/3 of the entire human population of Europe in 8 years. It killed 25 million people. Bubonic plague is an infectious disease that kills you quickly. You get it from a bacteria that is carried by rodents. They call it the Black Death because you get huge swollen lymph nodes and then you start turning black from gangrene. I mean, literally, it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst plague to have ever afflicted humankind in all of human history. And you can still get it. You can still get it the same way people got it during the 1300s in the Black Death years. You get it by contact with rodents that are carrying this particular bacterium. It's not common for people to get bubonic plague anymore, but it does happen, particularly in a few specific spots in the world. So over the last few years, for example, you might have occasionally seen, alarming headlines like this one. A couple ate raw marmot believed to have health benefits. Then they died of the plague. Or this one, as bubonic plague kills another man in Mongolia, Russia starts mass vaccination against Black Death. Or this one from roughly around the same time, quote, Russia cracks down on marmot hunting after bubonic plague alert. And actually, I should mention, all those stories had to do with Mongolia, specifically with people getting bubonic plague because of contact with marmots in Mongolia. Marmots are basically big squirrels. They look like groundhogs. They're very cute, but they're big squirrels. And sadly, they are among the rodent species that can carry the bubonic plague. In fact, in some marmot populations in some parts of Asia, bubonic plague is endemic. It's really widespread in the population of those animals. So after incidents like these ones in 2019 and 2020 that occasioned those headlines that I just showed you, Mongolia had like a dozen suspected cases of bubonic plague, and people had started dying. And so in Mongolia, few years ago, they banned the hunting of marmots to try to stop people from coming into contact with marmots, to try to stop a new tide of literally the worst thing on earth, which is bubonic plague. Because again, we all agree, right, that bubonic plague is bad. And that is why it's illegal to hunt marmots in Mongolia. Because just within the past few years, people have been catching bubonic plague thanks to contact with marmots, and they have been dying from it. Those news articles I showed you, that was incidents documented people getting bubonic plague because of contact with marmots in Mongolia. That was 2019, 2020. In 2022, guess who went to Mongolia to do a hunting show about killing and eating Mongolian marmots? Yeah. Not the blonde son, the other one. He has a magazine and a social media company, I think it is, about hunting. And this video posted online by his company in 2022 is captioned by his company, quote, Don Trump Jr. eats a rat in Mongolia. Hey, that's not a rat. That's a marmot. So this is a little bit gross, fair warning, but Here's me showing my work. Here goes. Here's me proving it.
Guys, I'm gonna go collect some firewood, okay? So we're gonna experience a pretty cool Mongolian tradition. Marmot is, I guess, a delicacy.
Is it a delicacy? I guess it's a delicacy. Did you do any reading? Do you understand what's going on here? What exactly you're doing here on film?
Again, it's one of those traditions, you know, they're totally a true delicacy, but actually is like illegal contraband. So I got to be really clear. You were with me the whole time. We did not shoot the marmot. Yeah. It's kind of contrabandy.
It's kind of contrabandy, but that's so cool. The reason it's contrabandy to hunt marmot in Mongolia, the reason that government made it illegal to hunt marmot, and they tell you not to eat marmot meat, or certainly to handle any raw marmot stuff, is because, again, bubonic plague, which people keep getting and dying from exactly there, with exactly those animals, in exactly those circumstances. Now, I raise this because while Mongolia and its adjacent geographic neighbors like Russia have had to take some food safety regulation steps to try to stop the bubonic plague from having a 21st century resurgence, the United States, similarly, for a long time now, has seen it as just a function of good government to do what we can to regulate food safety. That is a core function of the U.S. government. Last week, the person in charge of food safety for the U.S. government, the Deputy Commissioner of Human Foods, Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, that person resigned in protest of what the Trump administration was doing to his agency, stating that the widespread and what he described as, quote, indiscriminate firings of food safety staffers at the FDA showed, quote, disdain for the people who do that work. Disdain for the people with highly technical expertise, the professionals who do food safety work for the U.S. government. He said it would therefore be, quote, fruitless for me to continue in this role. So the Trump administration initiated indiscriminate mass firings, according to the head of the Human Foods Program, the head of food safety for the U.S. government. He says those indiscriminate mass firings decimated human food safety responsibilities within the U.S. government, and so the head of food safety for the U.S. government resigned in protest. And I tell you that part of the story as well because the Trump administration has now chosen a new person to head up food safety for the American people. The guy who left in protest was a lifelong scientific expert in the field. The guy who the Trump administration brought in to replace him is not. He is a man who works at a law firm in Florida, not a scientist, but he is a hunting buddy of Donald Trump Jr. And I should say there's no indication that he participated in Donald Trump Jr.'s genius bubonic plague marmot meat eating adventure. But that's his hunting friend. This was first reported in Vanity Fair. The guy they've put in charge of food safety hunts turkeys with Don Jr. Don Jr., again, thinks that was a rat he ate in Mongolia. And why is that illegal anyway? But now Don Jr.'s hunting friend will be in charge of American food safety. Among the more than 1,000 people the Trump administration has indiscriminately fired from the FDA, yesterday and today we've started getting reports that, oops, once again, they've been scrambling to now try to unfire some of them, including the people they fired who work in food safety. Quote, barely a week after mass firings at the FDA, some staffers received unexpected news. Beginning Friday night, FDA employees overseeing medical devices, food ingredients, and other key areas received calls and emails notifying them that their recent terminations had been, quote, rescinded, effective immediately. FDA staffers who were reinstated said their immediate supervisors received no explanation or advance notice on the decisions. Instead, staffers received calls or emails from the FDA's Office of Talent Solutions, informing them that their access to FDA computer systems and offices had been restored. The emails concluded, quote, "We are so grateful to still have you working for the FDA and serving the American public." Exclamation point. The exclamation point was part of the email. Quote, a week earlier, the same employees had received emails stating that they were, quote, not fit for continued employment. Feeling good about the stability here? Feeling good about being in safe hands with this administration? And the solid grounds on which they're making purely merit-based decisions on firing and also on hiring? Is there anybody else you'd like, Mr. I think that was a rat I ate in Mongolia? Is there anybody else you'd like to recommend for American safe food handling recommendations? It's contrabandy. Cool.